What's up, y'all? It's the Shallon fam doing it for the island, and today we're gonna do our first album review on video. And I guess some of the fans from EyeVorRy's fan page came over and mobbed my suggestion box and said they want a review of EyeVorRy's music, and that's EYE, like I, and then Vorry, so VOR, and then a space RY, EyeVorRy. If you put that together, so he just has a space between each syllable, so I space VOR and then space RY. And this is Growing Pains Chapter 2. And the first chapter of that project, the track that really stood out to me was She Knows. Such a catchy hook. So the expectations are definitely higher for this project. And EyeVorRy, for Christ's sake, where the hell are the other projects at? Because I was a bunch of songs I wanted to revisit after listening to this project, kind of see how you involved as a project, but they're not there anymore. So I don't know what happened. They got removed, or what happened? They got copyright strikes. Either way, it's all good. I'm just kind of just curious, you know. And your producer, 5 p.m. frequent collaborate with you and a bunch of other artists. He did his thing throughout the project. So starting with track 1, Benita. Initially I heard it, like, I heard the intro. It was like, do you lust for me? Like, I didn't recognize what the reference was throughout that track. And the hook's like, Benita Applebaum, he kind of turned me on. Benita Applebaum, trying to sing you this song. And on the first listen, the reference went completely over my head until, like, going throughout the album and hearing references to other songs or interpolations where, like, you take lyrics from a song, you take like a rhythm or element of a song and use it in your song. And I started catching this. I went back and I looked it up. I looked up Benita's song, and I realized that it's a reference to a Tribe Called Quest song called Benita Applebaum. But the only difference in the title is that instead of Bonita, like BON, like the Spanish, like Bonita, like somebody's beautiful, he says Bonita, like BANITA. And overall, it was a great opener to the track. At first, I didn't really enjoy the first 3 tracks because they kind of felt lovey-dovey. But after a couple listens, those tracks have grown on me, and especially Benita Applebaum, especially after understanding the reference or the homage that it pays to A Tribe Called Quest. And so the second track, My Heart, it's the lead single on the project. EyeVorRy does have a music out for that song, and it's a very melodic drill track. Like, I don't know what that melody kind of reminds me of. I felt like I kind of heard that type of melody in another song, or it just sounds familiar. I don't know why, but it sounds like I've heard it somewhere, But it's like, from the day I met you, you so special in my heart. I took you places, you've never been my heart. Like that hook's catchy. It's a very chill song. Once again, it just gets you in the mood, and it's kind of like for the ladies track, as I already told. Because like the first 3 tracks, that's kind of what I felt. I was like, yo, this whole album's just gonna be a love song album, which just wasn't really moved for when I was listening to it the first time. But definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album. And now let's jump to track 4, Flexin'. So the pace and the mood of the song is like where the energy kind of picks up in the track. You kind of get more hype in that song. A catchy hook. You get some nice drums, and the trumpets are just slightly muted in there. So production wise, it's very good. I'll just suggest for you to listen to it. I'm not gonna just rap the hook for you because you just gotta listen to it for yourself. But I think that's where like the pace of the album picks up, and that's where I feel like the album kind of warms up, in a musical sense. And going to the next track, track 5. This is the next kind of interpolation or reference that we have to another rap song or another rap hip hop artist, and that's Shallon Forever. And it also has the only feature on this album, which is by Squeegee O. And even in the intro, like, you get, when you hear that whoa, like, it kind of reminds you of the song Cream, or like when Old Dirty Bastard used to do that on his songs, like doing that whoa, like with his vocals. And And then, you know, he does, and he kind of interpolates the lyrics to "Shame on a Homie." He's like, "Shame on a homie, run game on a homie," and then he just spits some dope flows, some dope lyrics, like boom bap stuff on it. And then Squeegee comes in with his verse, and Squeegee's been on a feature tape. He's been on his like J. Cole with giving out features, or Lil Wayne giving out features on these like boom bap type tracks, like these old school hip hop style tracks, which I love that Squeegee's on this album. But just compared to the rest of the album, the rest of the sound of the album, like I just don't know if it fits in there. But regardless, as a standalone track, a very fire track. I think it's also one of my favorite songs on the album. And you know, if it was really up to me, if I was the label or the producer kind of clearing this album, like before he would have put this out, I would have put Bonita, Shaolin Forever, which is this song, and I would have put his the last track of the album, which are all like kind of homages to other hip hop songs and other hip hop artists. I would have just put them in their own little EP and put all these other songs as part of this Growing Pains concept. But overall, it's like this whole album feels like we're working with two separate concepts. One with like homages to like past hip hop songs or past hip hop artists that EyeVorRy is aspired by, and then kind of this element of going through love and pain and you know, feelings, emotions. But nonetheless, going on to the next track, track 6, Munyon. This is definitely the most hyped single on the song, and honestly I think it's a better track than Flexing. And it just has that nice dark piano, that dun, dun, dun. And it's like, I want the money in the bag, fill it with cream, I want to eat, I want to feast with my team. Like I love that. I love that track. Probably overall as like replay value is very high in that track. Also with Shaolin Forever. Flexing, like it's a good track. That's where like the album, like if I'm going through like the album from top to bottom, it's like where the album warms up, but it doesn't have as much replay value. My Heart has replay value for like a chill vibe, but lately I just been trying to excite myself, you know, coming off that like that versus with No Limit Records versus Cash Money, like those are the types of songs I want to listen to. So just don't judge me on that. But like My Heart at the moment is not a track I come back to. You know, same thing with Bonita. Like I haven't been in that lovey-dovey mood lately. But overall, very good stuff. And then when we go to the second to last track, Faded. Overall, a great concept for a song. Like the storytelling of him being faded on mushrooms and talking about, you know, encountering these girls. I love that concept. He's like, I'm so gone. Like he comes in with this like whiny delivery. Initially, I didn't like that delivery because I was like, you know, I'm not really a fan of that Suicide Boys type of delivery or that whiny. I don't know what other rappers really do that, but like that whiny type of delivery, that I'm so gone. Like you kind of just whining it, but like creatively, I see why, because like he's kind of rapping like he's faded, you know, or maybe he was faded in the studio. But regardless, overall, a good track in terms of conceptually. And then track number 8, My Name Is. And you know what comes to mind with My Name Is, like that is that Eminem song, My Name Is, but he doesn't interpolate the hook. He actually interpolates just the first. That's just like the concept of like Eminem's first verse on that song, and then just the first lines he kind of rips and puts it into his song, like not samples it, but raps it, just like M was. It's like, hi kids, do you like violence? And he just kind of goes into a whole verse of how kids are exposed to violence on a daily basis, how they're relying on iPads technology, and just being overstimulated. And then you know his other two verses also touch on different topics, and I think that first verse was really solid verse, and a really dope homage to, you know, Eminem. And it was, you know, it was a really dope close out to the album. So you guys, you know, check the album out for yourself. Growing Pains Chapter 2 by EyeVorRy, EYE space VORRY. And 5 p.m., you know, would love to sit down with you, talk about this. And EyeVorRy, if you ever want to sit down and kind of break down some of these song lyrics, like bar for bar, kind of like one of those Rap Genius videos, I'd love to do that with you. Let me know. We off.